Nintendo Switch 2. It's been 5 days since the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. I did stream it over on Twitch. It was really fun. Had a bunch of buddies there with me. It was really fun. A lot of great surprises, but there was something that after the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct that I kind of started thinking based on kind of what we had seen, and that was this weird feeling that Nintendo, it feels like they're starting to market to a different group of players. Obviously, if you look back at the Switch 1, you can see that they started to market less towards kids and more towards like a young adult audience, which made sense, right? You market towards the young adults, then the kids look at that and they're like, oh, this is what the adults are playing, so this is the cool thing to play, so I'm gonna play it. Kind of made sense. But now with Switch 2, it feels like we're starting to market to a different demographic. It feels like Nintendo is starting to market towards a more specific generation, which is kind of the 20 to 30-year-old generation of adults now. You could even say, you know, people in their 40s. I'm mostly talking about people who are nostalgic for the older stuff, or rather the hardcore Nintendo fans. And the reason I started to think this is a couple different reasons. So the first thing is looking at the slate of games that Nintendo presented us with. Obviously, Mario Kart is huge for anybody. Everybody fucking loves Mario Kart. Everyone's gonna buy Mario Kart. It's a great launch title, and it's been, what, 10 years more than that since we've gotten an actual new Mario Kart? We've been playing 8 for like a decade now. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. We did get the DLC like 2 or 3 years ago, which was nice, but you know, it's been time for a new Mario Kart, and we're not counting that mobile bullshit. So I want to talk about the GameCube games. Yeah, obviously, you know, we all kind of expected GameCube games to come to NSO. That just seemed like a no-brainer slam dunk. You know, you get a more powerful console, might as well give out some more demanding games. But specifically GameCube, you know, it's a console that I would say is more nostalgic now than it has been in a long time. Like, the GameCube's always been a nostalgic console, but even though I was born kind of around when the GameCube had started, I grew up and then I started playing, you know, games like Mario Party 7 and stuff like that. The GameCube is very nostalgic for me. And I would say it's even more so to people who are, you know, older than me, people who were 10 years old at the time, people who are just getting into their 30s now, who grew up playing the GameCube. Now, the interesting thing with GameCube on NSO is that a lot of those games that you might expect to show up on there have been re-released in some form for Nintendo. You look at Pikmin 1 and 2, Metroid Prime, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, those have all been re-released. Mario Sunshine too, also, if you count the collection that was a timed exclusive a couple years ago. But they've all been re-released in some form, and we know that eventually we probably will get those games. I think it's kind of a no-brainer. I don't see why we wouldn't. I guess we didn't get Mario RPG on SNES, but I feel like that's a lot of games to leave off the table. Minus like Pikmin and maybe Metroid. I could see Thousand Year Door coming, but I definitely don't think Pikmin, because you can just get Pikmin 1 and 2. Personally, I think all of them should be available for purchase, but that's Nintendo for you. But when they showed the extra games, and even the games that they did show, so they showed Wind Waker, which, like, you know, makes sense. Wish it was HD, but you know what? We got Wind Waker on the Switch. That's fine. Twilight Princess will come. Soul Calibur 2, that's a game that hasn't been re-released, at least this version of it with Link, hasn't been re-released ever. So it's really cool that it's here. And you have the built-in widescreen, which is super cool. Like, it's basically the most HD, best official version of the game. Hopefully the online holds up, but we'll see. And then F-Zero GX, which is also another hardcore Nintendo fan thing, I'd say. People have been asking for F-Zero GX to get some sort of GameCube updated HD port to Nintendo Switch for years now. So here it is, also has widescreen, which is really cool. But my point is, that's not something that I feel like your general fan, whether you're an adult or a kid, is going to be asking for. They're not asking for F-Zero GX. That's a Nintendo fan thing. It gets even deeper when you look at the future games that we're going to be getting. You know, they had some obvious ones in there, Luigi's Mansion, Mario Sunshine, sure. But they showed Pokemon Coliseum and XD Gale of Darkness and Chibi Robo. I don't have the full list up in front of me, but I'm sure there are other games in there that maybe stick out a little bit. But those are the 3 that immediately stuck to my mind when I saw them. These are niche games relative to, you know, the general Nintendo audience. especially Chibi Robo, because we haven't had a new one since the 3DS, and that one isn't even good from what I understand. I did not play Ziplash, I just heard people were really pissed off about it. The big one for me is the Pokemon games. I have been meaning to play them for years. I have Coliseum, I don't have XD Gale of Darkness because they're very, very expensive. And I'm not an emulator guy. If I want to play a game, I usually want to play it in some sort of official capacity. So this is going to be a great way to finally sit down and play those games. And like, yeah, it's Pokemon. Like, does that sound like a big surprise thing for a lot of people? Like, Pokemon is not niche. But these two games specifically are very niche. These games don't get referenced very often, if ever. The most Nintendo has said anything about these games recently was just talking about like the release date. Like, I think the release date came up, and on Twitter they were like, oh, this day, what, 20 years ago, Pokemon Coliseum released on the GameCube. Isn't that cool? And that was the most we got out of it. Maybe that was a tease for future things. I don't know. Either way, these just feel like very Nintendo specific things, but I guess that's easy to say with GameCube because GameCube games inherently are a little more niche. It wasn't the biggest selling console, so you see a lot of hardcore Nintendo fans who love the GameCube, myself included. It's my favorite console. So GameCube inherently, yeah, that is a Nintendo fan thing. Okay, I understand. Kirby Air Riders. This is another one where it's like, okay, now it seems like this is a little more Nintendo hardcore. Kirby Air Ride is not something that your general fan of Nintendo is going to really care about. You know what I mean? Like, making a brand new Kirby Air Ride and pushing it as one of your first big sellers on the system, you know, making a big deal about it, not even showing gameplay, just being like, hey, a new Kirby Air Ride is in development, and guess who's making it? Masahiro Sakurai. That's a very specific thing. That's not something that random, you know, John, who is just watching this for fun in his Discord with his buddies, who doesn't really care about Nintendo, doesn't even know if he's gonna get a Switch 2, sees Kirby Air Ride and he's like, oh my god, that's sick. He's probably just like, oh, what is that? And he sees Masahiro Sakurai is developing it. He's like, okay, who's that? It's a big deal. It's a really big deal, but it's a very big deal for us, for hardcore Nintendo fans. This is Masahiro Sakurai's return to the Kirby franchise. A lot of people aren't going to care about that, but we do. And Nintendo decided they wanted to make a big deal about it too, because they know what their audience is now. They know who's going to be buying this thing. And it looks like they're pushing more towards this audience, us, our audience. You know, the people who are, you know, in their 20s, in their 30s, maybe in their 40s, who grew up loving these games and are now seeing sequels to these games that, you know, you wouldn't normally expect Nintendo to make these announcements, because usually Nintendo is so weird about handling these old games and old franchises. And yet here we are. We have a brand new Kirby Air Ride being developed by Masahiro Sakurai. It's crazy. Next is Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong was kind of, I would say if there are 3 points to my argument, it comes down to GameCube games, Kirby Air Ride, and Donkey Kong. Specifically 3D Donkey Kong. Now, we've heard about this game for a little bit. It's been leaked. We knew that something was in development, so it wasn't as big of a surprise as a lot of people were expecting. But I still think Nintendo pushing a 3D platformer Donkey Kong game with some clear 64 rare elements, but also, you know, kind of reinventing Donkey Kong in a way. Pushing that as their big 3D platformer a month after the console's launch, that to me is another point in my belief that Nintendo is now marketing and pushing towards their hardcore audience. How many kids are going to buy a 3D Donkey Kong? I mean, kids aren't going to be buying any of these games, to be fair, and we'll talk about that. That's also a point I want to get into. But a 3D Donkey Kong just feels a little more specific to what the fans have been asking for. You know, the fans of Nintendo have been asking for a new 3D Donkey Kong for years. And finally, here it is, coming out a month after the console's launch. It looks great. Like, it all just adds up in my head. Like, these feel more Nintendo fan specific than they ever have. Like, you look at the Switch 1 launch, and it was pushing Nintendo forward, but also kind of keeping them in this broad net of still feeling like Nintendo, but still kind of gearing towards a more general audience. You know, you look at Breath of the Wild, Zelda in general is an easy, like, oh yeah, people are gonna buy this because it's Zelda. I'd say Mario fits into that as well, Mario Kart. But with Switch 1, it was, you know, we have Zelda at launch, we have Mario Kart a month after. It's a port, but it's still Mario Kart, you're still gonna enjoy it. We have a 3D Mario that's more general. My point being that you look at that launch compared to this launch, it seemed a lot more general. Now we're seeing, instead of Zelda Mario, you're seeing Zelda Mario, kind of still. I guess you're still seeing Zelda Mario, because there is Age of Imprisonment, but that's different. That is not a Zelda game in the sense that it's a new Zelda game. It's not a traditional Zelda game. It is a Warriors Zelda game. All in all, just looking at the original Switch's like lineup that they did, you know, minus ARMS and stuff like that, because that was just like new IP stuff, just trying new things. This console feels a lot more specific to Nintendo fans. And them pushing even further into an adult audience, and now pushing even into a hardcore audience of Nintendo fans with this launch, almost not justifies, but explains the price a little more. This thing is expensive, okay? This thing is not cheap. I live in Canada, where this thing is going to cost roughly $800 with Mario Kart. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that I can't necessarily justify spending right now. Obviously, the console isn't out yet. I got 2 months to save up for this thing. And I'm going to Combo Breaker next month. Jesus Christ. It's gonna be tight, but we're saving the money. And that's also not including a Pro Controller, which I really do want to get the new Pro Controller. I love that it has a headphone jack and the extra buttons. I think that's really nice. Mostly the headphone jack is why I want it, though, let's be honest. Donkey Kong comes out a month after, and assuming I don't get this thing at launch, I'll probably end up getting it the month after, and then Donkey Kong will be out by then. And I was like, well, I want to play Donkey Kong too, so might as well get it. And I want to get on that online because I want to play them GameCube games, man. So that's going to be, well, luckily I can do a family plan, but that's going to be like 20 bucks or something. Basically, I am spending, if I ideally wanted to buy everything with the Switch 2 that I want to have, so the console with Mario Kart, Donkey Kong, and a Pro Controller, and the online, it's gonna cost around, I want to say 1,100. Let's say at launch, so we'll remove Donkey Kong. That's about $1,000 for this console, which is a lot of money. But in my head, I'm still trying to justify it. And you want to know why? Because I want to fucking play Mario Kart, because I want to play Donkey Kong, because I want to play Soul Calibur online as Link with my buddies. Like, I want to play all these things. I want to play Wind Waker again. I want to play Breath of the Wild at 120 frames and 1080p, dude. Like, I want all of this stuff because I'm such a hardcore Nintendo fan. For people who aren't hardcore Nintendo fans, it's probably a harder sell. Oh, this is an $800 console for Mario Kart. That's probably how most people are looking at it. I would say most people are just like, $800 to play Mario Kart. They're not thinking $800 to play a new Kirby Air Ride, to play GameCube games online with my buddies. Yes, I can technically do that illegally, but you know, this is an official way to do it. We're getting a new Donkey Kong game in a couple months. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm happy. Like, I'm happy. As a Nintendo fan, this whole thing made me very happy. And that's what it looks to be for everyone else. Minus the price, everyone who I, you know, watch on YouTube, who are big Nintendo creators and stuff like that, are happy with this Direct. And that kind of just sells it to me. Like, it just feels like this is a Nintendo that is focusing more on those fans that they know are gonna buy this console and are gonna play some of those weirder, smaller games. Are they gonna sell amazing? That's the in-between, right? Like, is this new Donkey Kong gonna sell well? I think so. But like, is it gonna sell as well as like Mario Odyssey? We're gonna have to wait and see. Us Nintendo fans are fucking loud, man. We're loud and we're annoying, so people will hear about these games. Anyways, that's pretty much it for what I wanted to talk about. Just a quick little thing that I've been thinking about for a few days. Talked to my friends about it. It just feels like such a different Nintendo. And I guess one last little thing is that, look at the guys who are running the presentation. They look like young guys, no? Like, at least, you know, 30s. They're pretty young. And I don't know if these guys are the heads of Nintendo right now, but clearly they had some big part in developing the Switch 2. And in my head, it's like, are these guys meant to kind of be our new faces for the future? Like, we know that Miyamoto and some of the older developers at Nintendo, this is probably their last console. But yeah, we have a lot of new faces in this Direct, and it's seemingly a lot of younger people who probably know that, hey, these games are gonna sell to some pretty hardcore fans, but they have a lot of hardcore fans. They know that we're gonna buy this shit. anyways, that's kind of my little rant. It's just kind of a thing I've been thinking about for a few days, and I just kind of wanted to spill it onto the internet, get it out there. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm gonna be trying to do more content in general with this YouTube channel, as well as, you know, doing more stuff with my Twitch VODs and kind of editing those down. Hopefully, by the time this video goes up, I'll have started editing the direct reaction, and I'll put that up as well. Speaking of Twitch, hey, go follow me on Twitch. That's my primary platform. I just hit affiliate, so thank you to everyone who helped me do that. I'm gonna be trying to stream a lot more, especially over the summer, because I am kind of wrapping up school, and the summer is gonna be a big time to just sit down, stream, get into the content flow. You know what I mean? But seriously, guys, thank you so much. That's gonna be it from me. Have a good day. I gotta go do real work now so I can start saving up for that fucking $800 console. I'll see you guys later.